Hey guys, welcome back to Billionaire Status. The story of Balenciaga. We bet you must have heard of Balenciaga. Just like Christian Dior and Louis Vuitton, this designer made his name known in the fashion industry and is still making waves today. However, there's more to meet the eye about this fashion brand, and that's why you have us here, to break it all down for you and give you all the juicy details in the story of Balenciaga. Keep watching because this one is for the books. Let's dive right in. Cristóbal Balenciaga, the founder of the House of Balenciaga, was born in the 19th century, and he was known as one of the top fashion designers who big names like Dior and Chanel looked up to. Cristóbal was born on the 21st of January, 1895 in Spain, exactly 10 years before Christian Dior. It isn't a wild coincidence that two of the most known designers in the world of fashion were born on the very same day, but with a 10-year difference. Cristóbal grew up in a tiny city in Spain called Getaria. His mother was a seamstress while his father was a fisherman. He lost his father when he was just a child, and as a result, his family went through difficulties. Little Cristóbal would then spend lots of time with his mother and learned how to sew at a young age because of this. At the age of just 12, Cristóbal began working as a tailor's apprentice. As a teenager, Mercedes de Casa Torres, one of the most powerful women in the city, became his patron and good customer. The powerful woman sent Cristóbal off to Madrid, where he got a formal education in tailoring, meaning he was one of the few designers in the world of fashion who could design clothes and also create patterns. A prodigy. Cristóbal immediately became a huge success in Spain. He opened up his own boutique in 1919. And he had prominent clients, including the Spanish royal family. Unfortunately, due to the Civil War, he was forced to move to France to continue his craft. Not too long after, he opened his Parisian haute couture house in Paris. Inspired by the Renaissance in Spain, his first collection was a banger and became successful in France. It was Balenciaga who brought about the basque detail on a skirt at the waistline that is still used to this day. A basque might have been a traditional Spanish detail, but it was Balenciaga who made it fit into the wardrobe of fashion icons of that era. Cristóbal's talent reached its peak in the 1950s. This was the era of his creative victories and breakthroughs. This era would later be called Balenciaga's Revolution. Back in 1947, Christian Dior introduced a new silhouette look to the fashion world by creating the image of a flawless woman with elegant hips, a tiny waist, and fragile shoulders. However, Balenciaga wasn't having any of this trend, and he decided to change the female fashion. There's a high possibility that folks who aren't even connected to fashion know about Balenciaga. After all, why not? In the present day, whenever Balenciaga is mentioned, the first thing that comes to people's mind are oversized sweatshirts, unusual sneakers, and other trendy and modern fits. Some might even feel that Balenciaga is new to the fashion world. However, this is not true. Not at all. By 1951, Balenciaga had completely changed a woman's silhouette. He widened the shoulder line on dresses and took out the waistline. With all that, he made a new silhouette for women, making it free and comfortable, yet elegant and gracious. Everything a woman needs. In 1955, he created the tunic dress, which became very popular as an outfit and later evolved into a chemise dress. Fashion experts also called the change of the waistline one of Balenciaga's greatest additions to the fashion world. However, in 1957, he had a conflict with the press. Cristóbal had revealed his collection to the fashion press a day before the clothing retail delivery days, and not 4 weeks before, as the rules along other designers had set at the time. Cristóbal wanted to avoid having anyone steal his designs by doing this. The press didn't like this decision, but Balenciaga was adamant and used this rule for the next decade. Cristóbal was supported by his protege, Hubert de Givenchy. Back in the late 50s, Balenciaga began experimenting with new materials and fabrics. In collaboration with the Swiss fabric house Abraham, Cristóbal made a fabric called Gazar. Gazar is a special kind of silk that keeps its shape no matter what. It was this fabric that allowed Cristóbal to make breathtaking silhouettes for his dresses, which were similar to sculptures. During that time, Balenciaga's models were called monsters because the designer instructed them not to smile, not to look into the eyes of anyone, and to glance over the heads of the audience with haughty expressions on their faces. Quite unlike the majority of his fellow designers, Balenciaga had always tried to avoid the hype and praises around his name. He never bowed at the end of his fashion shows and only gave one full interview in 1971. What a humble man. The genius gave a lot of cult things to the fashion world. A few of his famous and appreciated creations are the baby doll dresses, the bag dress, the voluminous cocoon dress, and the envelope dress. Unfortunately, at that time, many of his brilliant ideas and creations were continuously copied by competitors after he left. Balenciaga was equally the one who designed and created the uniform for the flight attendants of Air France in 1968. The navy blue and white uniforms have even been called the most stylish flight attendants of all time. Cristóbal's last moment with the fashion world was in 1968 when the hippie aesthetic became quite popular. Cristóbal's aesthetics were no longer popping in the modern world. Androgyny was in vogue, and the difference between men and women's clothing wasn't so clear. Cristóbal couldn't keep up with it and preferred to leave the fashion world at his peak, when the applause was still high, and be remembered as the most elegant and stylish designer. Cristóbal passed away in 1972 at the age of 77. Maybe he couldn't survive without his haute couture. Sad. The day he died, the Women's Wear Daily magazine was published with the title, "The King is Dead." The House of Balenciaga remained closed until 1986. For years, several designers have tried to return the fashion house to how it used to be. Back in 1977, Nicolas Guesqueret, Jean-Paul Gaultier's apprentice, became the head designer of the fashion brand. Later on in 2007, the brand presented cult clothing items known as robot leggings that are made up of hundreds of glittery materials. In the same year, Beyoncé wore them to perform at the BET Awards. In 2015, Demna Gvasalia became the new creative director of the brand and went on to give another life to the fashion house. Demna was born in Georgia in 1981. When he was only 12, his family moved to Germany. He studied international economics at Tbilisi State University and later attended the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Antwerp, where he graduated with a master's degree in fashion design. As the new creative director of Balenciaga, he shook up the fashion world and equally made new rules. Demna knew that fashion and sports are almost inseparable in the world today. That's why when the brand released its famous ugly sneakers, it instantly gained recognition and won the hearts of fashion icons all over the world. As a result, other brands began to copy them. From Demna's very first show for Balenciaga, the brand became one of the most talked about brands. It became quite popular among celebrities and fashion icons, and even youths in the underground style. Famous folks like Bella Hadid, Kanye West, and Kim Kardashian wear outfits created by him. Demna was able to do the impossible. He changed the understanding of what beauty is. After the pandemic in 2022, Demna began experimenting with his designs in unusual ways. As many fashion designers in the scene struggled to adapt to the post-pandemic shift to a more virtual fashion scene, Balenciaga had a plan. They partnered with brands like Fortnite to release skins that allow players to purchase and dress their character in Balenciaga clothing. Demna also partnered with the popular show The Simpsons to create a 10-minute Balenciaga episode to be premiered at Paris Fashion Week, which definitely shocked the crowd. We also can't forget to mention how Demna directed both listening parties for Kanye West's album Donda, which were a massive spectacle among the younger crowd. Although it may seem unusual for a luxury brand like Balenciaga to work with these brands, Demna knew what he was doing. He was grabbing the appeal of the younger audience. Balenciaga saw that up to 65% of their sales were coming from millennials and Gen Z audiences after these projects. When you compare Balenciaga today to when Cristóbal was in charge, it may not seem like there's a link to these generations, but the positive thing is that Cristóbal's business has continued to succeed and is still setting fashion trends. At the end of the day, isn't that all that matters? Well guys, that's all we have for you today on the story of Balenciaga. We hope you enjoyed this as much as we enjoyed making it. What do you think about the fashion brand's history? Make sure to share your thoughts in the comments section below. If you liked the video, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon so you can get notifications about any future videos.